What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another fantasy football video. This one's going to be the 5 bold predictions for the 2016 fantasy football season. Let's get right into it. Number 5, Russell Wilson and Drew Brees, in any order, so 1 or 2, will be the top 2 scoring quarterbacks in fantasy football this season. So I don't know who's going to be 1, who's going to be 2, but those 2 are going to take up the number 1 and number 2 spots. Wilson, every single year, he's improved his passing yardage. They don't have Lynch anymore. My feeling is they're going to lean on him heavily because they know he's very efficient. When you watch him play, he is a super efficient quarterback. He's very good with running, which last year he had a bit of a down year. I believe he only had 1 rushing touchdown, but I can see that going up to 3, 4 rushing touchdowns. I can see his touchdowns passing improving, his rushing yardage, his passing yardage, everything improving. This could make him the number 2. If I had to put money on it, I'd say he'd be number 2. And Drew Brees would be number 1 because, guys, Drew Brees right now probably has the best weapons that maybe not he's ever had, but it could be the best he's ever had. I know he doesn't have Jimmy Graham, but he's got Colby Fleener. He's got Cooks emerging as an elite wide receiver talent. He has a good run game now with Ingram, and Ingram actually knows how to catch the ball. It's just you look at his seasons, and I mean, everyone knows he's good, but do you realize that over the past 4 years, his worst year was last season, and it was 4,870 passing yards and 32 touchdowns. In that stretch, he had 2 5,000 passing yard seasons. I mean, if I had to predict a total for him this year, it would probably be 5,000 passing yards and 40 touchdowns because the defense is still bad and his weapons are improved. So I see him having a monster year, then finishing 1 and 2. Let's go right into number 4. Marvin Jones will finish the year as a high-end wide receiver 2. So that means that I'm predicting roughly wide receiver 13 to 17. Somewhere in that range, Marvin Jones will finish, and that's in standard. I don't think that would change too much in PPR. Maybe he'd be a little lower in PPR because he's not going to catch a ton. But I think in standard scoring, he will be a high-end wide receiver 2, and he's going pretty late right now. I don't know the exact ADP of him, but it's late enough to where you can reach probably a round ahead, and he'll still outperform that value. I mean, he is the number 1 target right now. He's running the number 1 routes. He is potentially going to be targeted more than Golden Tate will, and we thought it was going to be flipped. No, this guy's going to be a monster this year. He's going to be a touchdown threat. I see him having a huge year because you know what? They're going to have to throw because their defense isn't as good as it used to be. Next bold prediction, number 3, is that if you combine the first 4 weeks of Derek Carr with the rest of the year of Tom Brady, it will be the number 1 scoring quarterback. I know I already talked about Wilson and Brees, but that's individual performances. If you combine the 4 weeks of Brady suspended, you plug Carr in, and then the rest of the year with Brady, it will be the number 1 scoring quarterback. The first 4 weeks of Derek Carr are Saints, Falcons, Titans, Ravens. Maybe the Titans is a tough matchup, but you know what? I'm sticking with it because the Saints are terrible. The Falcons, I feel like, are also an okay matchup. I think he can get by with that. Ravens are a bad matchup. So I like these first 4 weeks. Maybe you could stream and get an even better, but I'm saying if all you want to do is draft Carr and then you want to draft Brady, it's going to be the quarterback 1 because I feel like Brady is easily going to be the number 1 scoring quarterback from week 5 on. I mean, you just look at the improvements they've made on offense with Malcolm Mitchell, with Martellus Bennett. I know they don't have Lewis, but they didn't have Lewis for a lot of last year when he was the number 2 scoring quarterback. So love this. It's a combo that I've already drafted in one of the subscriber leagues is Carr and Brady. And you know what? You can probably get even better production if you pick up Carr for a week, then you pick up someone else. You just stream quarterbacks those first 4 weeks. Then you pull up Brady. You're going to have the number 1 quarterback, and you did not spend the capital to get a number 1 quarterback. So your value is much better. Next, Vance McDonald, currently going at tight end number 27 off the board, being undrafted in a ton of leagues, will finish inside the top 10 for tight ends. You look at last year, he had 6 points per game over the final 7 weeks in standard scoring. And in the 7 games he played with Blaine Gabbert, who looks like he is going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers this year, he was the 11th best tight end in fantasy. You don't need to go grab a guy really high when you can grab Vance McDonald in the 13th round, and I think he's going to put up top 10. That's all you need from your tight end. You just get a guy who's going to finish like 7th to 12th, because it literally doesn't matter. There's no difference between the guy that's 12th and the guy that's 6th. It's maybe a point a game, which isn't worth reaching any higher than like the 11th to 13th rounds. I think he's going to have a great year. It's a terrible defense. He looks like he's going to be potentially like the #1 target on that offense because Torrey Smith, they don't have a connection right now. So love drafting him. But the #1, you guys know that I love him. I've talked an infinite amount about Charles Sims, is I think that Charles Sims will outscore Doug Martin in PPR scoring this season. You guys have heard me say time and time again, I'm not going to say Doug Martin's not good, but I'm going to say Charles Sims is just as good from an athletic standpoint and from what he's providing to your team. Doug Martin is not going to get you receiving yards. He'll get you a few, but he's not going to get you nearly as many as Sims is going to get. Sims is going to be much more heavily involved in the passing game. With PPR scoring, he's going to rack up the points. That way, that's always going to make up for the difference with Doug Martin. And I mean, he had 1,100 yards last year and was an RB2 in PPR scoring. I see that happening again. Maybe he can get to 1,200 yards, get a few more touchdowns, a few more receptions, and catch up to that difference between him and Doug Martin. And if Doug Martin has any regression, which I think he will, I think Sims catches up and surpasses him. So that's the end of the video. If you watched this far, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.